first for day one, where I was amazing then as well. Either way, we're kicking off our grand final match, which means Bass, he's out of here. High Furia, you're sticking with me. You gave me some lip, so I guess you earned the right to cast this first series alongside.
Always backtalk. Never let anyone have their moment. No. Always have my opinion, and Amphis has an opinion as well. Gets into the backward shot coming through, but it's denied by Fever.
Yeah, already quick out the gates. Ground zero on that blue side, looking to pester that goal. Renegades try to find a response. Pass doesn't quite hit its mark. CJ will still close things down in the middle of the field, as we see a very increased tempo than what I feel like both these teams actually faced in the semifinals.
Fever doing a little 360, and absolutely the semifinals, it seems as if it's kind of the case. In previous season it was ground zero up top, Renegades trying for that #1 spot but not quite managing, but now Renegades have upped themselves to ground zero's level, and the rest is still a little bit behind, but are slowly getting there.
But what I find interesting, and like kind of what I was trying to hint at before about the semifinals, is both the Direwolves and Riot were kind of making similar mistakes where they weren't playing forward enough, they weren't challenging enough. Already a minute into this game, we can see both Ground Zero and the Renegades, they're taking that same aggression, and now we get to see how these teams kind of respond to that pressure. And at the moment, this Ground Zero defense looks shaky. Fever looks for the double, instead throws it down to CJ, who sets up Fever again, found the second touch, that opens up CJ once more, and finally, there came one Kami who couldn't quite find the shot.
He couldn't quite find it. Torsos trying to go through to the center. CJ just to get it across the pitch. That's a backflip from Amphis. Should open up the net, and indeed it will. Renegades, they capitalize, but not because of prolonged pressure, because of a mistake.
Yeah, and that has been another reoccurring theme, I feel like, through the semifinals and now into our regional final. It's been the ability to capitalize off even the smallest of mistakes, and that's how both these teams in a lot of ways did get to that spot. And I would argue those mistakes are being created by the increased tempo, the increased pressure. Now, Ground Zero, they need to respond back in kind, because at the moment, as soon as the Renegades seem to get within the Ground Zero comfort zone, we're seeing panic in their rotations and panic in their touches.
And here we see how strong the Renegades attack actually is, with them moving into the attack and keeping it there for such a long time. I mean, now it's time for Ground Zero to break away. Amphis getting the second touch, sending that into the corner, but CJ simply pushed that wide.
Yeah, well, however, CJ still trying to stay on that wide side, won't be able to make the read off Torsos, who finds a nice follow-through as well. Fortunately for that Renegade defense, you can see how quickly they fall back, and then they stay with the ball. I don't think at any stage throughout this first game thus far, there's been a Renegade player more than 20 meters away from the ball at any given moment. They're keeping it so tight, so snug, and for Ground Zero, a team that sometimes that really likes to spread things out, it's definitely been a thorn in their side.
Well, that is actually a statistic, so that is something we can look up for the next regional or something, whenever we want, really. Maybe we would put Bass on the case. That would be something cool to see. Ground Zero, and they're trying to set up an attack here now, though, and they have to break through that Renegades defense. This all comes down to very specific way of challenging, and there you go, Torsos breaks through.
Yeah, you see Torsos eyeing that one up for a good long while right there, and with Fever not in a position to really run disruption, that one was going to go wherever Torsos wanted it to on that net, so keeping it tight, they get that one goal, and we have a tie ball game.
We have a tie ball game, and this proves to be good for the series. I absolutely love seeing this, as Express might be able to put it one to the good for Ground Zero. Not quite. It's in the clear way. Kami into Fever into the corner. You know he can hit those, but this instance, not quite the case.
Not the initial case, however, with Ground Zero playing it forward as well, maybe they can force the Renegades into an awkward situation. Instead, it's a Renegades counterattack, though, High Furia, and they're looking for that go-ahead goal here. Pass back, but saved by Express.
Torsos out to the side. Kami pops that up high. Gets a flip reset as well, but extra perfect timing on the challenge to deny that flip reset. Amphis to the skies. It's going to be faking it out. No, just accelerates the ball. Fever still looking for the second tap, but Express, they're doing a good job of challenging Renegades at the roots.
And they're just really not allowing any space at all for the Renegades to work with, so they forced their own. Fever nearly found that double touch, but even then, Torsos just waiting underneath. 1-1 ball game. That net's open. That ball is in. Express and Ground Zero take a late lead.
They take a late lead, and with a missed rotation from Renegades, both sides have now made a mistake here in this game. And Ground Zero, they were just able to create a proper goal, nicely play it out, and now they're up by 1 with 52 seconds. Renegades, you can't count them out in this scenario.
Not one bit. As we hit our final 45 seconds, the Renegades, they're on the back foot. They're going to look for a way to break free Express. Typically, the defender back was the one leading the charge for Ground Zero, but the Renegades unable to capitalize.
For this instant, at least 30 seconds is what they've got left. Torsos, if he's able to snipe that, that surely would have been game. Express turning in. Kami with a quick challenge that will sail on into the corner. Torsos still staying close. Kami, that's the wrong way. He needs to turn around, do a 180-degree turn. He can't quite manage that in time. And Ground Zero, they're just trying to keep this to the attack in half.
Oh, but they're going to have to play some defense to wrap this game one up. Good touch by Express, gets it over the top of Kami. And now Renegades, they need to go the pitch, but with Amphis already in their face, I don't think it's going to happen. Ball still technically alive until it's spiked down. Ground Zero take game number 1.
They take game number 1 in Ground Zero. They already proved that they're here not to mess about. No, they're here to play and prove that they are still in the same form as they were last season, which both of us have predicted.
And it should be worth noting, every grand final matchup between Ground Zero and Renegades, granted there's only been one series between them, whenever Ground Zero has taken one game, they've gone on to take the series. Now that stat is completely useless, however, the stats in front of you are not. And take a look at that shot differential. The Renegades, technically more shots on target, however, Ground Zero still found more ways to convert.
Incredibly efficient, and that's something I've seen from Ground Zero a decent amount of time this season, where they're pressed back into defense, but they have great rotation, and then they have the breakaway. They spot the tiny mistake, the tiny error, even though we might not notice it, they do, and they capitalize. But Renegades, they were the first to strike in this game. Ground Zero, this is going to be a tough one for them still.
I don't think either of these teams, though, are going to be putting much weight into the first goals in any of the games throughout these series, because they know how dangerous their opponents are and how you need to stay mentally tough throughout, potentially till the clock hits 0. We even saw that at the end of the game right here. There were still moments where the Renegades were able to breathe some signs of life. However, the thing that impressed me the most was how far forward and how physical Ground Zero was playing in that Renegade space. And it was something that CJ highlighted in that interview as well. They're well aware of what Ground Zero wants to do to them. They know it's up to them to find that answer, and after game 1, that answer is still yet to be found.
That's kind of the benefit for Renegades going into the previous regional and this regional, is that Ground Zero, they've got a well-defined playstyle that they were able to adapt to pretty much the entire season. And Renegades, because they haven't scrimmed, Ground Zero were able to catch them off guard with their speed. But Express, he's got some speed on him as well and clears it away.
That's a good shot from Fever. Amphis was able to hang back, and that results in a quick save. Now back across that middle of the pitch. Kami from underneath finds that read, and that's a 1-0 lead for the Renegades.
They have so much faith in each other that Amphis is just expected to do great things with that 50. Put a demo on the back line, calls the Renegades to score first. Yet again at Ground Zero, they have to fight back from behind, but they've got their spirits high. They're still talking to each other, of course, because there is still plenty of time.
A very, very quick lead. However, as you did mention, Hyperia, we've seen this one already before. Definitely a good start, but the Renegades want this one to go in, so CJ makes it so. 2-0 lead for the Renegades.
I don't think this was in from Kami, but the fact... I might have gone in. Either way, the fact that he even got that to bounce inwards while jumping from the backboard at a relatively far distance from the target, that's impressive already. And Renegades, they're still popping off.
Yeah, they are very much in control of this second game already. 2 quick goals. This is the exact type of answer that I feel this team was looking for. And they've almost flipped the script in a sense. What a dunk, what a pass, and what a goal. 3-0 lead for the Renegades.
Ground Zero have been stumped 1 minute, 10 seconds into this game, and Renegades, they come out guns blazing, burning down the entirety of Ground Zero. And that's only 1 minute 10 in. Obviously, that does still give plenty of time for Ground Zero to come back, because we have said these teams are incredibly equal. Ground Zero very well could be putting in 3 as well.
I am still impressed how Fever had the faith in CJ for that dunk to put the ball exactly where they needed it for that goal. You want to talk about teams that are gelling with each other, that are in sync with each other. We've seen examples from both sides right now. However, the Renegades, they've been following through that a little bit more, particularly in this second game. I mean, the scoreline at this stage speaks for itself, Hyperia, as they're just adding to it. Kami with another makes it a 4-0 lead.
It speaks for itself, and at this point, it starts screaming for itself. They just keep on upping the decibels. They are being loud in Ground Zero. They're being silenced completely by the Renegades. This is a ridiculous game. To come back from Ground Zero, they take game number 1, but in game number 2, they just kind of get stomped about on the pitch, and they have no real way of coming back. Kami,
oh my!
not again.
Oh, he is getting far too close for those shots for comfort right now. It's starting to feel like a matter of time. So much so that we'll ignore what we just saw right there and instead focus on Fever leading the charge back up the other way. Ball falling in front of the net will be collected by Amphis. However, Renegades, they don't shut down the middle of the pitch. They may have opened up the doorway. Amphis unable to corral the shot.
And they're still slithering around the side, but it's Kami who's able to get it down to the other end. Fever, quick pace, torsos, in the 50 in the air. Fever just clears him. Express clears 2 as well. CJ to come back, third man, impressive. Kami to the back, where CJ up for it, but it's torsos on the clear away. They need to get a goal quickly on the side of Ground Zero, otherwise this game might be out of hand, even though it might already be out of hand.
Yeah, it's a rough game, number 2. However, and this is something that is, I believe, a fairly commonly held belief. It's better to lose games where you just kind of get stomped out than it is to lose that close match when you are in it for that long haul, just because mentally it's easier to write this one off. So I don't think Ground Zero are writing this off. In fact, you can see they're still playing hard, but with Kami finding that goal to now make it 5-0, it will be easier for this blue side to reset their mental.
Exactly. They basically have an extra 2 minutes where they can talk, say, look, this game is not it. Let's just, we're gonna keep on trying, but it's all right. We move on to the next one. It gives you extra time, and you are able to come back stronger in the next game. And on the same part, Renegades, they might get a bit overzealous.
Yeah, they might, although we haven't seen that yet. In fact, we just saw patient play right there. All 3 Renegades members fall back on defense and advance together forwards. Another goal for Kami, who, by the way, that's their 4th in this game 2 alone.
That is ridiculous. Renegades are running away with this. This is absolutely ridiculous that Renegades 6-0 after losing the initial game. I already thought it was a bit crazy at 3-0, but they just keep on upping and upping and upping, and I guess that's what Renegades do, is they might get the 7th.
Well, last time, what was the record? It was 10-0 in Series 1, Game 4, last regional final. That they could be shooting to top that. Let's see if we can get to 11. First, we have to get to 7. CJ looks for it, but the ball comes off the post, followed by Kami, saved by Torsos.
Ooh, CJ, let's see what he can do. It was an incredibly awkward play to make it through, but it does end up making it through. Let's have another look at this.
We're marching to 11, it feels like. Yeah, Athens tries to race back, unable to get there in time. 1:07 remaining. 3 to tie that 10-0, 4 to take over it. I want to see double digits. I think we might get it, Hyperia. The Renegades, they just cannot be stopped, it seems.
They can't. They're trying their hardest on the side of Ground Zero, and at a certain point, there comes a
no way.
Oh. Almost the Brazil. Almost the Brazil. But where Ground Zero also just start feeling terrible about themselves. Instead of this being easy to write off, it becomes actually hard because it's such a devastating loss.
Perhaps, but they did bounce back from that 10-0 with a Game 7 performance. Well, we're going to South America. It appears Amphis is going to go ahead and find 1 goal at the tail end of game number 2. 7-1 scoreline favoring the Renegades.
Across the globe we go. Absolutely love seeing that. And they pay homage to another I don't want to say emerging region because it's just not the case anymore. Another phenomenal region It's Express. He will certainly try and get another one on the board for themselves, get a bit of momentum as Amphiz and Express have a bit of a miscommunication. They both fly past the ball. CJ go for the shot, but it's Kami who converts.
You just keep adding to it. Let's just keep scoring goals. Why not? Is that the 5th for Kami right now? Yeah, fair enough. Good little play by CJ. CJ to open that doorway. 8-1 lead in our second game. Renegades, they're not just equalizing the series, they're doing it in a dominant fashion.
This should almost count for 2. If you distribute these goals from Renegades over the rest of the series, they might have already won it.
I agree with you. Why not make it count for 3? Just give them all the points, although Amphiz nearly pulls off a little flick right there. A fancy little play. Not going to be enough to find the goal, and definitely not enough to find that game win. Emphatic response to that opening game coming from the Renegades right now, and we've got ourselves a proper series to open this regional final up.
We have got ourselves one indeed. Renegades, they have a dominating win. Almost 1,000 points for Kami, 9 shots, 5 goals, good conversion rate. But on the side of Ground Zero, it seemed a bit lackluster, and they let Renegades run too loose.
I think the big defining statistic as to what helped the Renegades get that massive lead, though, does come through that demo play. 6 demos to 3. However, it was how those demos were used by the Renegades. They were finding the bumps. They were finding the strikes. They were also sort of returning the favor from game 1, and it felt like they were constantly in Ground Zero's personal space through most of that. Overall, Ground Zero would probably benefit from being a little bit punchier in the future, as it felt like every time they tried to slow the ball down, that's when the Renegades were there to strike.
And Renegades, they're just popping up as well. They're playing amazingly, really connecting well together, and knowing exactly what to expect from one another. As well, this is exactly such an instance, a phenomenal passing play, an orca play also to make it into the back of the net. But we take those.
Always take them. We take those, we put them in our back pocket fully. We can save them for later. As you did mention before, Renegades got enough goals to last them a series, let alone one game. I'm sure they're going to be looking for a few more of those as we do move ahead and look towards game number 3 right now. Ground Zero, though, again, I have to go back to the idea that if you're going to write a game off, this one is probably going to be the easiest one to do so.
Now let's see whether Ground Zero can write that off. Forget about it altogether, as they went for a fake kickoff. They have been going for that a decent amount of time. Amphiz was staying on the goal line at least, but Torso's now to the skies in that big old long Dominus. Doesn't quite get it the entire way.
As we do see some play in front of the box. Eventually, CJ finds a clear. Where's Ground Zero? Torsos able to rotate back, but had that clear been on target, Hyperia, it would have been going the other way. Instead, Amphiz tries for the reset, but Kami shuts it down.
That's such a great read by Kami. Express going for an incredibly quick challenge. Torsos up the sideboards. Fever to try and go into the attack. Amphiz up quick for it. CJ close. And Torsos still uses all his boosts to try and get a touch. Express, even if you had no opponent challenging, you still wouldn't have been able to reach that. No boost in attack, and he goes really far forward, maybe to hunt for a demo or such, but you put so much strain on your teammates as soon as you put yourself that far out of rotation.
And it's really unusual to see Express sometimes playing that far forward. Typically does work as the 3rd member of Ground Zero, and I say that positionally only. As we watch CJ drive it forward, this time Torsos will be there to catch it off the backboard. I can't help but notice, though, the Renegades aren't playing as far forward as they did in that last game. They are giving a lot of that middle of the pitch right back, and it's because they want these longer drawn-out plays, apparently. Fever almost goes the distance.
Ooh, Amphiz stealing Torsos' boost. Now Amphiz needs to get down the line. Kami gets denied by Express. CJ still lurking. Fever also still lurking, but Express he was hunting for the demo. Torsos gets cleared. Amphiz doesn't get clear. Good touch out to the side.
And in the side is where things get jammed. Eventually, CJ is the one who throws it back over to Fever with a cross up to Kami, who had cheated forward. Didn't really like that strike. I'm not sure that was the touch Kami may have necessarily been looking for. Not a lot of velocity behind it. However, another opportunity. And again, Fever slows the pace of the ball down. Renegades, they have chances to strike, but they're not converting just yet.
Not converting, but also on the side of Ground Zero, they're not converting in this play, get denied right at the get-go. Torsos looking for the second tap. Oh! They didn't convert, but they will now.
I want a protractor. I want to see what the angle on this double absolutely was. That didn't hit the backboard. That didn't hit the post. That was at least at least 88.5 degrees, I have to say. Torsos things yet again.
That is ridiculous. And this game, this series is shaping up to be a phenomenal one. It just keeps on getting better and better. Ground Zero, after an 8-1 loss, able to smack themselves back with a phenomenal goal. Express 50 with Kami. CJ actually clears all three players with one simple pass out to the side. Learn this simple trick. It's like an ad you see online or something.
Oh, CJ had a chance. Fever somehow got that touch through traffic. Now Kami going for a late reset, doesn't find it, but Fever finds the lob. It's off the post, and CJ knocks it through. Renegades tie us right back up.
Well, sometimes you have a phenomenal goal, and sometimes you have Kami faking out the flip reset, and then Fever passing off to CJ. CJ, Renegades, they do tie it back up, and with 2 minutes 19, plenty of time for crazy stuff to be happening as kickoff. Ground Zero, they're incredibly strong in that regard and have been faking it a relative amount of time as well.
They have been, I mean, those Ground Zero kickoffs. They like to have fun with it. They like to mix things up, although for the most part in this series, the Renegades have had the answers. We see another key save. Fever already moving up the pitch. Pass back to CJ. Thought they had it. Couldn't quite squeeze it in that angle. They knew Amphis was there. That's why they went for the tougher shot. Unfortunately, not quite in. They will get another chance, though, as Fever from up above guides the backward. CJ strike number 2. This time with the bump. Express does just enough to make the save.
Amphis to the skies, goes on the counter-attack. Wants to kickstart it at least, who has a flip in the bag. As he lands on the ground, CJ Express into the corner, pop down. Torsos can't come in for that, so CJ on the clear away. Great speed of the Kami, just outpacing Amphis. It's plain and simple sometimes. Torsos, he will extend down the other end, and Amphis is actually in the correct position, but Kami is there to clear it.
I think I just realized something, Hyperia, as we watch CJ nearly put it through. This is Halloween, right? I think we just wound up in the Twilight Zone for some reason during that second game, because game 1, tight like this. Game 3, another barn burner, tie game, 1 minute to go. Game 2 was that anomaly. It never existed. I think we all imagined it, and it was some Halloween-induced sort of shared illusion, whatever you want to call it, mirage, I don't know.
It was your spell in the OCE region to try and convince them that Halloween is actually fun. Huh.
True.
I see your plans.
Yeah. I mean, that angle was fun. Nearly able to fight its way through, not quite yet. Perhaps Kami could set something up, but it's Amphis off the backboard instead, looking to go the other way. Torsos, actually did have some boost, was just kind of playing the patient game. Not patient enough. 30 seconds to go. Ball game still tied. Next goal is going to take the lead in this series, I feel.
It's going to be so incredible. It's a tight situation. Shot from Kami, denied by Torso. Simple clear away. Swats that out to the side. Torso still following this play. CJ needs to get a touch. It's an awkward one, but one you do expect him to make, and he does live up to those expectations. Maybe even into the counter-attack. Flip reset in the bag. And CJ in the corner. Torsos has got phenomenal reads on that corner wall. This might just drop. Express not going to catch it. It will be overtime. Game number 3.
Big overtime right now. Both these teams would love to get that advantage in the series. It will be Torsos initially going for the ceiling pitch. Demo on the opposite end of the field. And eventually it's Express who puts the first shot on. Fever makes the save. And with CJ crossing Torsos off, I do believe the Renegades have held up Ground Zero for now.
For now is the main part that should be emphasized out of that sentence. But Kami might just be able to pop it on through Torsos. If he misses that save any day of the week, I think he might just say himself that he's going to retire, and especially because he's got such great offensive prowess as well.
Yeah, that shot nearly finding its way through, but the Renegades had already brought a couple members back. Now all 3 members back realistically for both teams. It is Ground Zero trying to play again into the Renegade space, but by finding these deeper clears, it's really been punishing the Ground Zero setup. They will get another chance as Amphis almost gets into the backboard. Kami has that read. Express will give a crack at it, but again loses out to CJ. Every 50-50 right now seems to be going Renegades' favor.
This 50 might be going their favor, but Amphis, it will be going towards that backboard as well. Kami, it's not necessarily 50, it's just a good challenge. A bit of a shadunk. Torsos looks for the tech and tap. Express is the one who gets it into the center, edge of the box. His reach. Fever taps it wide. CJ gets it out by Amphis to get any clear on that. Amphis goes for the flip reset. Actually allows Torsos to come in for it. Now Express needs to be careful. Does delay his challenging and gives his team time to get back.
Looked like Fever was going to be there for the shot, however, a bit too tight, and the goal not open yet. Perhaps this time it will be, though. CJ going for the dunk, isn't able to find it, but they do stay on the play, at least till Amphis runs disruption. I do like Kami's position right now, up in the corner, looking for that backward. Actually was looking for the shot. There's a small window there, but doesn't quite make contact the way they need. 2 minutes into this overtime, Hyperia, and we still don't have a winner.
It's a nail biter for sure, but Torsos, that was not a nail biter, beats him cleanly. CJ. Torsos, that's a full rotation wide. That's not proven to be incredible for them thus far. As once again, Amphis, that could be it. No, CJ gets back.
Every time it looks like Ground Zero may have found that opening, there is a Renegade defender just seemingly out of nowhere, just riding on through. The angelic choruses as calling out as they make those save after save. Another one right there, and now is the Renegades on that attack. Fever looks for the pass back, but Ground Zero has already flipped it back the other way.
Renegades, they only have quick glances at the offense. Apart from that, they're just pressed back and trying to hold on. That was a brief but Amphis, he has that completely under control. Flip reset. Fever very simply gets that through regardless. This is a bit of an awkward play, both going the wrong way with the ball, as Torres is able to get the final touch.
How do you go from a 8-1 victory to a 3-minute overtime is what I'm trying to figure out right now. 3-minute plus, by the way, because we still haven't seen anyone find a good strike realistically yet in these extra minutes.
I guess we can say that Ground Zero were able to swat off that loss, that devastating loss, and move on to this next game. Otherwise, we wouldn't even have been going so far. And Express, I'm not too sure what's going on there. I was expecting a shot, but either way, it was a Ground Zero still into the attack. Renegades, that's a good pass. CJ, Torso.
That's a good dunk.
Oh, the 50! Woo.
Just not quite there. Fever, though, has boost, has space, has a shot. It's off the post. Underneath, CJ gets it through, and the Renegades take game number 3.
And this is all off the back of that 150 in the center of Fever. You know he's got a flip, and I don't know why Ground Zero let him use it. It's plain as that. Don't let Fever use his flip.
Yeah, you can't let him do that. You cannot give some of these players space. It should be an unwritten rule. I might get to writing that book someday. However, I don't know where CJ's gone. He's off to celebrate that victory. Someone go find him. They still have a lot more games to play. But with that victory, the Renegades, they're one step closer to returning as regional champs.
One step closer, but this is only the first series in a best-of-3 set. They need so much more, and well, that's not even the first series done. There's still plenty of time to come back for the side of Ground Zero as they made this one incredibly close, but this will also be a hit to the momentum.
Yeah, I think this is massive for the Renegades momentum and will be a bit of a hit for that Ground Zero momentum again. It's great to see Torsos try to rally the troops, trying to keep them motivated in this. However, it really did feel like throughout this all, when it came to being the team to apply the pressure, the one to get more physical, it's been 3 games in a row where I'd almost argue that the Renegades have been doing a fair bit more of that right now. And until Ground Zero get a bit more comfortable with how the Renegades are looking to attack them, I feel like they are going to be a bit shaky at this stage.
How annoying is that if you get beat at your own game with them getting bumped and demoed out of your own defense? Fever right here runs interference, and this is kind of the play that kick-started it all, that made it tough to break away. Renegades, they take home game number 3, but we're on to game 4 already, and I think it's time for Ground Zero to say a word about this series.
Yeah, let's see what Express has to say. Good bump, good setup, isn't able to bang it through. But to quickly, one last thing, touch back at that last series as Torsos almost finds the opening goal here. Something that I enjoyed out of the Renegades was how they found those 2 goals in particular, just through constant pressure attacking the backboard and finding their passes in that avenue. I mean, yes, that overtime goal was a bit punchier, or it was a bit more of that counterattack, but for the most part, old school Renegades, they love just constantly threatening the goal and causing the defense to get out of pressure, or out of position, I should say, because of pressure. Torsos again off that top crossbar. These are getting very tight.
Oh, Ooh, that was a very tight one as well. Calmy, you expect him to at least shoot. I'm not too sure whether Amphas would have gotten back in ground zero. That you can't be making mistakes in this series whatsoever, since Renegades, they won't necessarily punish, and well, vice versa as well, since it was Renegades who made that quote-unquote mistake, or at least in my eyes. But in the end, who am I, right?
Well, you are the one who is sitting beside me watching some beautiful Rocket League Hyperia. That makes you pretty darn important to me.
Q, you're in them. Do you want to just stop the broadcast and go on a date? Oh, Fever! Never mind. No, scratch that day. I don't want to watch Fever all day.
Yeah, but that can't be our date, especially when he's playing off goals like this. How does he get around Amphas? How does he get the angle? Fever, 1-0 lead. I'm okay. Our romantic moment can be ruined like that. Flustered, lost for words, Fever. He'll do that to you.
Oh my word, Fever getting right back on track. That's a phenomenal one. Torsos, he's been able to pop off with some goals as well, but CJ just too quick and simple as that. Fever tries to pop it on through, but Amphas will get it away. CJ, plenty of boost to work with, and accelerates and gets it through Express, and there's the shot from Kami.
Renegades are in form yet again. CJ, pure control right there. Kami, complete trust. That's a 2-0 lead. The Renegades are firing their finger guns right now because they are starting to pull away from ground zero yet again. And this is where I can imagine things might be getting a little bit frustrating. And I know I've been touting that ground zero mental so far, but they had the confidence. They're coming into this one expecting to reclaim that top spot, and the Renegades are just not letting them have anything right now.
It's so amazing to see. We already were able to highlight the Renegades kind of playstyle in the earlier series that they played against Riot. They are able to display here as well, and then everything that we said about, okay, Riot didn't look too strong, so that always plays into how good are Renegades actually. Well, you're not going to be able to say that anymore when they defeat the #2 seed, or the #2 or #1 team in the region.
I mean, coming into this event, they were once again the #1 seed after the Swiss stage. Renegades were that #6 seed, and I will freely admit, when it came to sort of questioning this team's consistency, I was right in that front line. That Swiss stage was not a pretty sight. However, when push comes to shove, the Renegades do deliver, and right now, they are delivering on that major stage. Ground zero, they haven't had the answers to the increased physicality coming from the Renegades thus far, and it's funny because Ground Zero were initially that more physical team, but they just can't seem to stop.
Maybe they have to start adapting to that once again to try and break away. It would be a good strategy, since Renegades, they are able to make you succumb to the pressure and really make you unable to break out. As soon as you get a demo somewhere on the back end, they're going to have to try and close that gap. That could put an oddity in that rotation. They have to make it work, but Renegades, they're making it work perfectly fine thus far.
As we see Fever looking for that second touch off the backboard, not quite able to get there just yet. CJ was just waiting in that corner for Ground Zero to wrap themselves back around. They want to be that aggressive team. They don't want to give Ground Zero any space, any sort of field whatsoever at this stage. As we see a dunk from Kami nearly go through. Express is going to have that save on that goal line. CJ was eyeing up another challenge in front of the midfield line, and those are the decisions that are keeping the Renegades in it. Now Fever's going for the double, didn't quite have that angle.
I'm getting too much faith in Fever, I'll be very honest. From the angle that we were watching, it seemed like Fever might have just gotten a possible angle, but not quite the case. Torsos needs to convert quickly. That's a good demo, but the defender is already back, and it was a good intention. Oh, that's an unfortunate pre flip. They have to go back on defense.
I feel like Torsos has hit 3 posts alone in this game, and CJ, however, is just draining shots from everywhere on the pitch. His first for game #4. However, the Renegades, it's their third, and that is probably the dagger in this third game.
That might just be the goal to secure them onto that match point position. Renegades are in control. They're in the driver's seat, but they're also in the hot seat. All eyes are on them, and they need to be able to hold on to this form, since Renegades, as soon as they get to that final game, Torso's got close, but as soon as Renegades get to that final game, that's where they kind of struggle.
Let him score one, please. Look, Torsos has been so close so many times. he's due for another angle. I know he's already probably gotten the tightest angle of the evening so far, but he can only get denied so often. The Renegades, no quarter given, no mercy shown. They are just putting on an offensive and defensive clinic right now. Express, one last-ditch effort to find something in this fourth game. Will not get it. Ball hits the ground. Renegades on to match point.
On to match point they go. Nice sips of water, and this time I don't think a tactical timeout will be coming through. Fever, his mum got him a new cable, and so incredibly supportive as well.
I still can't get over that. You know, you need to take a timeout. Why? Mom's home with the cable. Just got to go fix things up. I mean, look, you want to talk about overcoming adversity, and when you consider the fact that that led to their one loss, which, I mean, you and Bass did kind of call it. They looked a little bit rough in that game 4. But if we take that out of the equation, as well as game 1 in this, you know, regional final, which even then they looked pretty in control, the Renegades are not making many missteps whatsoever.
Absolutely no. And Ground Zero, they're the ones to take the timeout. That makes a lot of sense. I saw the time, I was like, no way Renegades have just done this. And indeed they haven't. It's Ground Zero to try and break that momentum now from Renegades with this time. I don't obviously talk out things that they could be doing better as well. I
think at this stage they have their coach Jimma in their ear, giving that prep talk, working on that mental game, and just reminding them, hey, you guys can do it. Torsos was so close to 4 goals that game that either just took an awkward bounce off the post or had some ridiculous save out of Fever, literally with the ball halfway in the net. And those weren't gimme shots either. They were all goals that are so incredibly technically difficult to pull off. I feel like Ground Zero, they're still on the cusp of bringing it back. However, the Renegades, when given those similar chances, they're the team that's converting on them.
Absolutely, and we saw the cam reaction with that goal from Fever. I think CJ was shaking his head, can't believe it. Well, I guess it is the reality in Renegades. They're looking incredibly strong. Ground Zero, I'm not too sure what they're gonna have to change to try and make this better for themselves.
They need to find more ways to give themselves space. And the reason why that's so difficult is because the typical Oceanic response would be to slow the pace down when on defense, find avenues along the corridor, and then work from there. However, when we've been watching the Renegades on the attack, they're always parking 2 members kind of right in front of that midfield line, but on the 2 corridors as well. So they have that boost that they can go up and challenge immediately when the ball is slowed down on that defensive corner. And they've been kind of relying on this time and time again to stop that Ground Zero setup. You can see CJ right there, exactly what I'm talking about. And as long as the Renegades keep doing this successfully, it's really mitigating a lot of Ground Zero's strengths.
I think the tough part is keep on doing it successfully. The consistency is an incredibly hard factor, but Renegades thus far, they've been pulling it off no problem. Kami getting bumped about by Torsos. Express also looking for one, and maybe that's what they said in that. Meanwhile, look lads, let's just go for more damage, try and break up that rotation, and a 50 from Amphis, and that is an incredible goal.
This is the space that Ground Zero needs to find. If we can't slow it down on our own half, well, let's just slow it down in front of them, and Amphis just delicately tapping that ball in. Ground Zero back out in front. It's been a while, Hyperia, but once more they have the lead.
They have the lead, and they might just be able to further that, as we do get word that there's only 1 timeout per set. That's massive.
Ooh. That's a very early timeout. Ground Zero understand the significance of taking this first series. They remember what happened just 2 weeks prior in the last regional. They know they need to bring this one back right now, and that opening goal is a promising sign. But now, once more on the hunt, the Renegades already looking to shut down those defensive corners, looking to follow it through middle of the pitch. You know there's going to be a challenge. Ground Zero this time, the faster team on the follow-through. Amphis knew it. He cheated forward. The ball in position through the corner, but no one there to really get it past that Renegade defense.
CJ tries to get it through, and I will correct my mistake. They get 1 per series. Okay, so either way, though, whichever way you spit it, however many timeouts, that was a great timing on that timeout. They were under the gun, and you don't want to be under the gun.
No, they don't. You never want to use a timeout in theory, right? Timeouts are used as sort of that last case defensive measure, and you do frequently see teams use them when their backs are against the wall. Fortunately for Ground Zero, they will have another in Series 2 and Series 3 should we get there. Obviously, that gold's going in. CJ finds power off what looked to be a pinch.
I check to my right side for a brief second and they score. Apparently in this way, 126 kph. I guess it is a really fast goal, and Renegades now bring it back to its tied game. Ground Zero, I saw Torsos shaking his head a bit annoyed that made it on through, thinking, oh, come on game, can't we get anything in our favor? And in the end, you're in control of pretty much everything.
I mean, that's got to feel like a bad beat for Ground Zero in a lot of ways. Just the power and the angle that CJ was able to find from that challenge. A bit unfortunate when pinches kind of go against you, and now Renegades, they're looking for that go-ahead goal. They're looking for that opening series goal right now. CJ almost gets that ball to the backboard. Mikami probably will find a bit more success because the net is open. Cannot get the speed on the reset.
I can't quite get it. Amphis on the return. Oh, that's a beautiful pre-flip to get it through.
Amphis again, you never know what they're going to do when given this kind of space. It looked initially they were going for the reset, but instead just kept it stable, straight, and in. Defender gets faked, and Ground Zero are back out in front.
Amphis has been a bit quiet throughout this series, and they go for a fake kickoff directly afterwards. And as soon as Ground Zero, they feel the momentum, that is when Renegades should be scared. It is Halloween, but you should be a different kind of scared when Ground Zero are confident.
Now, who is the bigger bookie man today? Will it be Amphis? Will it be Fever? So far, it's kind of been Kami, actually. I still am not going to forget that 5-goal performance in game number 2. Either way, Kami now, with that space, will get it to the backboard. Pass back down. CJ's there. A massive save out of Express.
Now Express directly going for the demo, running on through, but it's a bit too slow. He's got no boost, but Fever, last man back, can't quite get it, but it's off the post, and Torsos, he's been able to snipe angles left, right, and center. Doesn't matter where you place him, but not quite there, but Express rips one.
Express able to bring this one back. Very much needed goal coming from Express this time around as we catch this one again. I have to go back to that post, though, from Torsos right now. Again, it's just little bits, millimeter differences right now for Torsos between amazing goals and post bank shots. I think Ground Zero now, though, are doing a better job in playing around it. That goal as evidence.
Ground Zero, their timeout proven to be worth their while. They might just look up this game. It's still 2-goal differential. Fever gonna try and mitigate that to 1. Amphis, good speed. He honestly has been showing up so massively. Maybe they just put a few words of encouragement into him as well.
We'll see what they can find. Fever nearly finds CJ down in the box as we see Amphis now throwing it back down towards that middle of the field. CJ sticks with it. Express gonna try and play a bit of shadow defense. Fever again to Kami this time. No goal had yet. Ground Zero doing a good job playing patiently.
Good job playing patiently. Renegades, they need to hurry up the pace though. Ground Zero, they've got all the time in the world. They're both at 40 seconds, but in Ground Zero, they're in the lead. Torsos across the pitch into Amphis. It's Kami who actually gets a read on it, and CJ going into the attack, actually has free space, tries to pinch it through. This might still be a shot from Kami, but okay, indeed.
That looked too open of a shot. I think a little bit awkward. Look, you can't miss an open-ish net if you don't take the shot at all.
Smart. On CJ probably thought him that.
Yeah, an important lesson to be learned. Unfortunately for the Renegades, a little too late. That last shot from Kami not quite there in time. And Ground Zero, with their backs against the first series wall, are able to find a win. We're going to game 6.
We are going to game 6, and well, I would say you expect nothing less, but it was incredibly close in Ground Zero. They made it close. Renegades were on the precipice of getting that game number 1. They were denied, or that series number 1 rather, they're denied by Ground Zero.
Yeah, they were denied for the first step, but they still have 2 more chances. Remembering, like, these best of 7s, they are long, and Ground Zero still is essentially trying to pull off what is the quote-unquote best of 5 reverse sweep. As we say goodbye to our stats right there. A lot more even this time around than a lot of the previous ones. However, the big one that came out to me was the amount of saves compared to shots that the Renegades had to make. Ground Zero had so many shots but there weren't a lot of saves from the Renegade side. Why? Because all those shots were posters. It was post again, post again, post again, and that's got to be frustrating, although they were able to eke out that victory.
Yeah, the game's mechanical ability of counting shots is still a bit harsh, but Renegades, they directly come in with a counter timeout. They lost it, don't want to get it out of hand further, don't want to see that game 7 even, and just decide to counter with a timeout quickly.
Tommy looks comfy. He looks relaxed. That does not look like someone who is too worried just yet. Just lean it back, chill out, relax. A little sippy sip of the water. Yeah, something tells me both these teams, again, it's always been sort of a talking point, I feel like, when these younger teams who aren't used to this stage of an event, that's where they start to feel the nerves. That's where they start to feel the pressure. Both the Renegades and Ground Zero are so well coached, so well relaxed. They know how to handle these situations where it becomes my favorite kind of Rocket League. It's not about which team chokes it out. It's about which team is going to be able to rise up, and we've seen that from both sides already.
There is a certain factor as well where this timeout can play a massive role in that regard. You have to play in more ways than just raw speed, raw talent. You have to try and damage the momentum of your opponents, and the tactical timeout is a great way to do so. Ground Zero, they're halted for a second. Yes, they have time to talk things through, but they were playing well. They were playing perfectly fine. They would have been fine to keep on going.
Absolutely. They probably wanted that momentum to keep on going because it's so hard to come by in the game of Rocket League, especially when you're up against essentially either of these two teams. But when you're up against the Renegades and you have that forward swinging momentum, you want to ride it as far as you can go. However, now it does feel like we're on a bit more of an even playing field as straight out of the gate, Kami looking for something, not going to get it this time. Fever looks to stay with it. Did I say playing field?
Wait.
I meant playing parking lot, and CJ is going to park that ball in the net first.
What happened here? The defense, Express goal absolutely bapped out of the way, and Renegades, they get the first goal. Also their timeout proven to be worth their while, at least in these initial 11 seconds. Ground Zero, they've got to try and get a comeback now. Wait.
I hate when I'm trying to play goalkeeper and all of a sudden a car falls from the sky and lands on me. It's frustrating. It's the worst feeling.
It's so rough. You just having a grand old time, and this is not a grand old time for Renegades whatsoever. A phenomenal opportunity to get two to the good, but instead they have to try it again another time.
Fever uncharacteristically missing that one. I know it was tight, but usually at minimum would be able to slow that one down. That was a great opportunity missed by the Renegades, and now here comes Ground Zero. Ball controlled at the middle of the pitch by Express. Fever doing what they can to slow it down, and actually that works in Kami's favor. CJ already playing it forward, going to look for something underneath. Has Fever in the middle of the field, instead goes Kami's way, and with an awkward touch, Ground Zero survives yet again.
Fever clears it away, flip reset, to boot. It's Amphis on the clear away. Amphis closing that gap. Kami with a 50 into the edge of the box. There's a shot coming through, but it's a weak one. And Kami, it's actually really awkward. Torches to the backward. Looks for the second tap, maybe even the third one, but gets denied by the Renegades defense, who now need to break out.
Yeah, but it's so difficult with Amphis waiting just underneath again. Trying to slow that pace down. Trying to go for these very mechanical, very delicate plays to fake the Renegades out. And not quite working yet as we do go back up the field. That goal will be already shut down. A bit of a back and forth series already. Each team so close with some opportunities. Amphis, he's starting to fall back a lot on his solo mechanical ability. And talking to Yummy, he's a firm believer this happens when he gets nervous. That's why Express is there to find the play. Tie ball game.
Amphis is gaining massive confidence after that timeout, able to completely destroy the entire defense. Ground Zero, they've just tied it up, and they're still laughing as well. You see the Renegade side. They're not unhappy about it. They probably are, but they're dialed in. They're ready to go and ready to continue. It's an unfortunate one, but hey, regain.
Yeah, this is still up for grabs, Iferia, as we do see that ball literally bounce across the middle of the field, almost like an AFL toss, and CJ gets so close to being able to find a go-ahead goal. Instead, we go ahead and go back up the field the other way. Two defenders in front of Amphis. He doesn't care, goes for the double, doesn't quite find it.
So incredibly hard to read that post bounce, and well, that probably counts as yet another shot, even though it wasn't quite on target. Ampes with a good pop forward, caught in the midfield by the Renegade defender. CJ across the pitch to Kami. Kami doesn't get any power on it, but he has mind control tricks.
Oh no, that is exactly what Ground Zero do not afford to have. Torsos, look, we've said it time and time again, I fear, probably the best right now in the region at finding those tight angles.
Hey, it doesn't matter which net, they'll score it. Absolutely amazing.
Just get it, just gotta squeak that one in there. Oh, and it's a go-ahead goal as well. That's, you know, bit of a bittersweet moment. I did appreciate Torsos try to laugh that one off. It's gotta sting a little bit, and now the pressure back on Ground Zero, a goal needed to tie this series.
Yeah, whichever way you look at it, this could have been so much easier if Ground Zero just didn't own go away. That's something in the past right now. Once again, you have to regain 50 in the center. Ampes, he's been incredibly strong and express, trying to prove his worth as well. Torsos, he surely has a moment to try and come back, and it is good, Max.
Oh, across the middle of the field. Fever is going to get credit for this one. However, it's Ground Zero playing 3 members up, and none of them realistically in vicinity of that ball. It was quite a simple read for the Renegades to make, and this is what I'm worried about. Why that timeout, why that momentum is so critical. The decision making from Ground Zero, when they start to fall behind, can sometimes get a little range. Like, that's where we see more of Ampes trying to put too much on his shoulders. That's where we see more of the team playing out of position, and the rotations start to crumble a bit. Usually they can still bounce back because they are that much faster, that much more mechanically gifted than a fair few of the teams within our region, but the Renegades are not one of those teams. They will punish you as they get yet another It's Kami from underneath.
And that might just be series a goal, the final one perhaps, but it's at least something that gets a great old safety net for Renegades that they can rely upon. Ground Zero.
I feel like Torsos is just chuckling right there. It's just like, you have to send 2 people to try to get the dunk on me, and it's like, well, yeah, and they did, unfortunately. So, yeah, a bit unlucky for Ground Zero overall. A bit fortunate for the Renegades, I fear. Yeah, this is a massive 3-goal lead, and this is going to be a massive series up in their 2nd regional final.
And this is also the moment where you have, even though I don't like it, you have to bring up the own goal yet again. That is what accelerates the Renegades into having confidence, being up by 1 goal and regaining that confidence. Sure, that's all a guessing game, but it is the way it happened. Renegades then popped off after they got a freebie.
That they did, and they took it and went to the bank with it. You cannot afford to give anything away, and now we're going back to game number 2, it looks like. So let's just settle in and see how many ridiculous goals the Renegades can get in 36 seconds.
Can this be another 8-1 scoreline? It very well could be.
3 goals, 36 seconds. I mean, we've seen similar things before. Let's see if they can pull it off once again. I somehow doubt Ground Zero are going to let him do it for free, although CJ with possession does dish it down in a way that Fever can follow through off the backboard. Here comes Kami. All right, we're at 6.
They're actually getting up there. Slowly but surely, they're moving on through.
How does this team just blow away with leads out of nowhere? Why can't they continue this level of play? I feel like this is less of a Renegade thing, though, and more of a Ground Zero thing. They're just already thinking ahead right now, I feel. They're looking ahead towards our 2nd series.
That's smart. That's always what I would say as well to teams who like to have fun even when they're winning relatively dominantly. You see FaZe in the 1st regional as well. Against RBG, they were going for demos the entire time. FaZe dropped out, not making top 8. I mean, you always want to keep on trying. It's for momentum. Momentum is the most important part in this game.
And it would be a disaster for either of these teams if they do drop out before the top 8. But for now, the Renegades, they're going to go ahead and take this 1st series in 6. There are a couple close moments for them, but they had just as many routes as Ground Zero had victories in that series.
Hey, sometimes that just is the case, eh? Renegades, they now go up 1-0. A similar scenario was also in the 1st regional with a different scoreline. Ground Zero, they have improved, but now they need to improve even more going into that 2nd series.
Yeah, it is going to be an interesting direction that we do fall upon, because for me, Ground Zero still looks better than what they did just one regional ago. However, the Renegades really felt like they had their number, and for me, it's just all about that consistent pressure, staying in Ground Zero space, and not allowing Ground Zero the opportunities to capitalize on each and every goal that they can find. Now, Bass, you were able to watch that one from the sidelines. I'm kind of curious what your takeaway was from our first series in our regional final.
My takeaway is that Renegades have not missed a beat. They look the same as they did in the first regional here, and that's where this gets a little bit nervous for Ground Zero here, because as much as Ground Zero are starting to play to their level, they're making minor mistakes, and against a team like Renegades who have shown this overwhelming offensive pressure, you just can't afford that.
It's really that Ground Zero, they need to play up to the highest level every single game, every single time, and they're not necessarily used to that, since they could have come away with a few misses and recover it with solo plays. That's not the case anymore.
I feel as if what the Renegades were doing so well in this one was just punishing every single misstep. And I don't necessarily mean an unforced error, but even something like that own goal, which, again, fortunately, Torsal's able to laugh it off. However, the Renegades will take that slip up, and they'll get as much as they want on the tail end of it all. And the next thing you know, 4-1, 5-1, 6-1, Renegades Series 1. I feel as if Ground Zero, they have the ability to play that perfect series from start to finish, those perfect games from start to finish, but they need to show us it now.
They really do. They need to step up and show us everything that they've been missing at this point, because it's backs against the wall. There's no two ways about this. If you give Renegades their second regional in a row, there's no question anymore. It's no longer Ground Zero or the top dog. It's Renegades are the #1 team, and they do so rather concretely.
And they'd be doing so with what would essentially be an 100-point lead, or 102-point lead to be specific, over the likes of Ground Zero. And then it's what, like 200 before anyone else? Like, that's absolutely massive. Those 200 points means I believe they would just need to make not even top 8, but like top 11 in the Swiss stage. They would have to win like one bracket in the next Swiss stage to secure their spot moving through. The Renegades, they're perfectly aware of this. They know, hold on, we could be getting our tickets a little bit earlier than expected.
You always want to get them as soon as possible. If you don't have that stress anymore of having to play it out, Ground Zero, they're a phenomenal side, but as soon as you're under the gun and in a pressurized situation, everybody has an opportunity, a percentage to crack.
Yeah, well, on that note, we are going to give our players some time to rest up and get ready to bounce back in this one. Consider it the RLCS timeout. As each team gets one, well, so do we, and we're going to take it before our second series. If the Renegades do take that one, well, they're going to be looking like the top dogs. Ground Zero can strike back. They struck back before. We're going to have to go on a break first to find out if they can. See you in a few.